Chazal tell us that Peischim b'chvod achsanya. When you speak somewhere, you have to speak about the place that you are speaking in. I spoke to Danny on Erev Shabbat on Friday afternoon. I just wanted to check in to see how's the event coming along. People are RSVPing. We're going to have a nice crowd. He says, Rabbi, you don't believe it. There's 50 people that are coming tonight. So he said to me, he says, you don't know how much people like to hear you speak. I said, Danny, you don't know how much people like to get a free dinner. But this is really very, very beautiful to have so many people together Sunday evening with a delicious buffet and so laid out so nicely. Mrs. Oceanshot, really everything is chalichube, as they say, I think, if that's the word. And thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor really to be here. And Bezat Hashem, your house should always be filled with brachot, with Torah, with mitzvot, and a lot of nachat from all of your beautiful children, Bezat Hashem. I couldn't think of a better topic on the night before Lag BaOmer to speak about a chizuk in Emunah, to strengthen ourselves in Emunah, in belief, and our trust in Hashem. Because what greater day of the year is there than Lag BaOmer that teaches us what it means for a person to have real emunah, real belief in the Ribono Shel Olam, a real belief in themselves, and real belief in the Torah Kedosha that we are all trying to uphold to the best of our abilities. The Shulchan Aruch tells us that tomorrow night, Lag BaOmer, is a night of simcha. It's a night of joy. Everyone's going to go to the Hadlaka, they're going to light the big bonfires, we're going to sing, we're going to dance, even though there was no music for the last 33 days. Tomorrow night there will be music. And the day after that we will shave, we'll take haircuts, and we'll be all filled with simcha, with joy. What's the reason we're going to be so happy starting tomorrow night? The wives will be happy because their husbands are going to shave, that's for sure. But what's the reason that there's going to be extra simcha, extra joy? Because we know that during this time of the OMER, 33 days, everybody is a little bit in the process of mourning the loss of the students of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was the greatest sage of the generation. He had the biggest yeshiva, 24,000 students. And they all died during the time from Pesach until Lag BaOmer. And on Lag BaOmer, everyone stopped dying. And so therefore we celebrate the death of his students stopped at that time. And now we can move forward. And there's nothing to mourn about anymore. Let us rejoice. But there's a very famous question on this chazal, on the words of our sages. I understand if Rabbi Akiva walked into his yeshiva on the 33rd day of the OMER and he saw there's still a few thousand students left sitting and learning, and the yeshiva is still going, and there's still a lot of noise and people are learning and everything is going well. I understand, finally, Baruch Hashem, all of the students have stopped dying, but we still have a few thousand left. But on the day of the 33rd day of the OMER, Rabbi Akiva walked into his Beit Midrash, into his yeshiva, that was once bustling with thousands and thousands of young men that were learning the future of all of Klal Yisrael. And he walked into that Beit Midrash, into the yeshiva, and there was not a single soul that was still alive. It was so silent inside of that room, you could hear a pin drop. Rabbi Akiva had nothing to celebrate. If you do the math, in 33 days, 24,000 students die. That's over 800 students every single day. That means Rabbi Akiva is going to 800 levayas, 800 funerals, and 800 shiva homes, and he's giving one eulogy after another eulogy after another eulogy. He has to console every parent, every wife, every child who lost their father, their brother, their husband. He has to console everyone. And at the end of 33 days, Rabbi Akiva walks into his yeshiva and he sees his whole life dream gone, finished. Not in 1 year, not in 2 years, not in 20 years, in 33 days, everything is over. Now, if I was Rabbi Akiva and my whole life was destroyed in less than 4.5 weeks, I think I would have gone into my bedroom, I would have put a do not disturb sign on my door, crawled in under the covers, pulled them up over my head, gone to sleep, and maybe wake up sometime in a few years. At this point in his life, Rabbi Akiva, according to some opinions, was close to 100 years old. It's the end of his life. And Rabbi Akiva sees total destruction. So what's the big simcha on Lag BaOmer? Your whole life is ruined. Everything you believe in, everything you worked for, it's gone, dashed, all the hopes, all the dreams, finished. Now the Gemara tells us Rabbi Akiva, though, did not go into his bed. We don't know, maybe, we don't know how long he was in his bed. But Rabbi Akiva was living in a world that was shoymem, it was desolate, all of the Torah of the 24,000 students gone. Now remember, Rabbi Akiva is what's called a Tana. Tanoim are the ones that write the Mishnayot. They're the ones that start the Gemara. His students will be the next in the link in the chain of those Tanoim. Gone. There's no future for Klal Yisrael. And the Aretz HaYeshomim, it was empty and desolate. There was nothing there. But Rabbi Akiva did not sit around and wallow in his misery and his pity for himself. Rabbi Akiva, it says, at some point he got up, he went to Rabbi Seinu Shebedorim, to all of the great rabbis that were in the south, and he found 5 new students. He probably was not the most popular Rosh Yeshiva at that time. Would you like to come join my yeshiva? Aren't you the one who just had 24,000 students die? I think we'll go learn someplace else. But he found 5. Amongst those 5, Rabbi Meir Balanes, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose Hilula, whose Yortzeit, is also on Lag BaOmer. And he taught them all of the Torah, and from those 5 students, all of the Torah that we have today, that we've had for the last thousands of years, that will allow us to endure for thousands of years more, all of that comes from the great Rabbi Akiva, who pushed and pushed and pushed and never stopped. Now what day, how long did it take Rabbi Akiva to pull himself back together? How many days, how many weeks, how many months did Rabbi Akiva have to replan himself and recalculate himself and figure out, what does Hashem want from me? How could I be such a failure and destroy the whole world? What does Hashem want from me? So that's what we're going to speak about tonight. The great conviction of Rabbi Akiva, and how long it took him to pick himself back up and continue moving forward in his life. Now there's a famous Horowitz to Rabbi Nassan, which speaks about the beginning of the career of Rabbi Akiva. And I'm sure that most of you in this room are aware of these words. Remember, Rabbi Akiva was 40 years old. He didn't know an aleph from a bet. Nothing. He didn't know a Mishnah, he didn't know a Gemara, he didn't know a Rashi, he didn't know anything. He was a shepherd for a very wealthy man in Yerushalayim, and the shepherd and the wealthy man's daughter Rachel saw this very special shepherd out there. She saw his beautiful midot, she saw his potential. She said, I'll marry you. Richest woman in the world, I'll marry you. On one condition, you must go and learn Torah and become a giant in Klal Yisrael. Now, Rabbi Akiva was not very fond of Torah. He was not very fond of Talmidei Chachamim. He wasn't fond of going to learn. But his wife said, you marry me, you get all the money, just go learn Torah. They get married and the father says, by the way, I disown you. I'm not looking for a shepherd boy to be my son-in-law. I want the best. This on no money at all. She said, it doesn't matter, Rabbi Akiva, you go and you learn. And he's on his way, and he's wondering, how am I, a 40-year-old man, who's taking care of sheep all day long, how am I going to go and learn and become the leader of Klal Yisrael? How am I going to do that? So we all know this story. He was once standing by a wellspring, and he saw over there a rock, and he sees water that's dripping on the rock, and he looks carefully and he sees there's a hole in the rock. And Rabbi Akiva says, a hole in the rock? From water? How does the water make a hole in the rock? And he realized it must have dripped there millions and millions and millions of times, but the water could keep dripping and dripping and dripping and bore out a hole inside of a rock. Said Rabbi Akiva the following words. He said like this, Marach psales akasha. If water, which is so soft, can make a hole in a rock which is so hard, divrei Torah shekasha kebarzel, the words of Torah which is as strong as iron, al achas kama v'kama sheyichakaku as libi shubasa v'dam, all the more so they will engrave inside of my heart, which is made out of flesh and blood. If the water can make a rock get a hole, then the Torah, which is like steel, like iron, it's so strong, certainly it will make a hole inside of my heart. And with that, Rabbi Akiva went and he began learning all of the Torah, not for 5 years, not for 10 years, 24 years of his life, until he became the leader of all of Klal Yisrael. What did Rabbi Akiva see on that day? We see some magical scientific thing that the water makes a hole in a rock. Rabbi Akiva saw the following. He saw two things in his world of Emunah. There's something called Emunah, belief in the power of the Torah itself. The Torah is what created the world. The Torah is the mind of the Ribono Shel Olam. The Torah is what runs every single vestige in this world 100%, 24 hours a day. And Rabbi Akiva saw that the Torah is so powerful, it is so strong. I'm sure that even though I know nothing, even though I live my life as a shepherd, but if my wife wants me to go and learn and become a great person, the Torah is so powerful, I can go on to become maybe the greatest person in the world. Because Rabbi Akiva had another Emunah, another belief. And that is when a person believes in themselves. Rav Tzadok HaKohen says the following words. Keshem shechayev Adam lahamin ba'Kadosh Baruch Hu, just like a person is obligated to believe in Hashem, kach chayev lahamin ba'atzmai, they are obligated to believe in themselves. Do you know why, says Rav Tzadok HaKohen? Ki nafshoy, because your nefesh, your soul, is mimikor hachayim. This is not a plug for my shul, by the way. But your nefesh, your soul, is from the makor, from the source of life, which is none other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And if you believe in Hashem, and you believe that Hashem is invincible, and Hashem can do anything, and nothing will ever stand in the way of Hashem and anything that He wants to do, then you who come from the same place as Hashem, your soul is a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then you must believe in yourself as well, that you could accomplish and you could do anything, and nothing is going to stop you and nothing is going to get in your way. Unfortunately, many of us have so much kochot, so much power. We have so much talents. We have so many skills. We have so much goodness that we could share with the world. So many plans and plans and plans you'd like to make. You know what the worst thing is? When you find a list of a to-do list that you were supposed to do 10 years ago lying around somewhere in your drawers. And guess what? All 10 things on that list you still didn't do. Nothing worse than that. That's like the worst feeling in the world. I accomplished nothing. Everybody could accomplish so much, but you have to believe in yourself. If a person believes in themselves, there's nothing that they cannot accomplish. There was once a fellow, we'll call him Mordechai. It was late at night in New York. You know, in LA, everything shuts down by about like 7:30. The stores close. If you need eggs, you have to go to your neighbor, but you can't go there either because they're already sleeping. So what are you going to do? But in New York, you don't have to worry about it. The stores and the religious neighbors, they stay open till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Jews got to eat all the time over there. So the stores are always open. So there was a Jew by the name of Mordechai. And his wife sent him to the store in the middle of the night to go run an errand to get some eggs and milk and bread for the next day for the kids. And he comes into the store. And he's walking around the store and he's buying the things that he has to buy. And he looks up and he sees in the aisle right near him someone that he hasn't seen in years and years and years. And he's looking at this guy and he reminds himself, this is a boy that he went to school with when they were in like elementary school together. The boy's name, the young man's name, now he's a man, his name is Michael. And he says to himself, what's the chances I'm going to meet my old friend Michael in the store 1 o'clock in the morning? So he walks over and says, Michael, is that you? And he says, yes. He said, do you remember me? He said, not really. He said, you don't remember Mordechai from elementary school together? You remember we were in Rabbi Sender's class over there? You remember me? He said, oh, kind of. He says, wow, Michael, I remember you. Wow, do I remember you. You know what I remember about you? You were the best basketball player in the whole class. You had that jump shot. You knew how to dribble the best. You had good defense, good rebounds. You were the best. He says, wow, really? You remember that about me? How could I forget? Everybody wanted to be like Michael, Jordan. Everybody wanted to be like you. Jordan. He says, but you know what else I remember about you? So I remember you were like a genius in history. I remember everything you knew when the teacher would ask, who knows about the revolution, who knows about this, who knows about the pyramids, who knows about world history, American, you knew it all. Unbelievable, you were so amazing. He says, you remember that about me? He says, how could I forget? We all like looked up to you, Michael. This guy knows everything, he's amazing. I said, but you know what the best thing about you was, Michael? You were always humble. Someone who's like really good on the basketball court, he could walk around with a strut and think that he's so great. You never did that. You used to pass, you used to cheer on the other people, you used to get other people involved in the game. You were never haughty about that. And you were a genius. Everybody knew how much you knew in history and other subjects. You never flouted your knowledge. You never made us feel that we were lower than you. You always were like on the same level as anybody else. Of course I remember you, Michael. And Michael's looking at Mordechai in disbelief. You remember all of that about me from so many years ago? He says, Michael, how could I forget? He says, you know what, I'm so excited to see you. Why don't we trade telephone numbers? Maybe, if our paths cross at 1 o'clock in the morning in the market, maybe we can cross paths again. He said, I would like that. That's a nice idea. And they exchange telephone numbers. He wishes him well. Michael wishes him well. Thank you very much. So good to see you. Nice big hug. And they leave each other. 2 weeks later, Mordechai's phone rings. Hello? Mordechai, yes? It's your friend Michael. Oh, Michael, how you doing? Should we meet up at the store tonight at 1 o'clock in the morning? He says, Mordechai, I just wanted to thank you. And he says, thank you. For what? He said, I just wanted to thank you for saving my life. Saving your life? How did I save your life? He says, do you have any idea why I was in the market at 1 o'clock in the morning 2 weeks ago? I just had the worst day of my entire life, on top of the worst years of my entire life, and I decided I'm finished, it's over, I'm done, I cannot go on another day like this. You know what I was buying in the store that night? I was buying a pack of razor blades, a pad, and a pen. So I could write my parents a note apologizing for all the pain that I'm sure I'm going to cause them, and then I was going to slit my wrist and take my life. And it was already in my shopping cart. And then I see you. And you start telling me, Michael, I remember what a good basketball player you were. Michael, I remember how much you knew in history. Michael, but I remember the most, what a nice guy you were, how humble, and how you helped everybody else. Michael. And that's why I kept asking you, you remember that about me? About me? And you said yes. And we parted ways that night, and I left the shopping cart in the store, and I said, maybe I'm not such a bad guy after all. And maybe my life is actually worth living. So I just called you to tell you, thank you for saving my life. Kishem shechayev lahamin ba'Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Just like a person is obligated to believe in the Ribbono Shel Olam, kachayev lahamin ba'atzmai, you must believe in yourself. Ki nafshay mimikor achayim, because your soul, your beautiful, radiant, powerful neshama comes from the Ribbono Shel Olam, because nothing can stop it if you put your mind to it. And that's the Emunah of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva was a man, he was a shepherd boy, he had nothing going for him. He thought he's going to become rich, he loses all of his money because his father doesn't want a man that's going to go and learn Torah, be a shepherd. And Rabbi Akiva sees that water, and he sees if water could make a hole inside of a rock, that's just water. The Torah which comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which will connect my neshama to Hashem, then imagine what a difference it's going to make in me. And Rabbi Akiva went 1 year and 5 years and 10 years and 12 years and 24 years, and he walked out of yeshiva with 24,000 students. But his Emunah is not over. Because we all know that there's a line that everyone is supposed to say daily. If you would say this line about 1,000 times a day, it will change your life. The Gemara says the following words. The Gemara says, La'olam, always. Yeh adam ragil loymar, a person should always be accustomed to saying the following statement in their life. Kol Dovid Rachmana, everything that Hashem does, L'tav Ovid, it is for the good. Do you know who said these words? The great Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva went through many, many challenges in his life. Rabbi Akiva was in the time of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Akiva was thrown away from his family. Rabbi Akiva was the one that couldn't learn anything. Rabbi Akiva was the one who lost 24,000 students. Rabbi Akiva was the one who was locked out of people's homes in the middle of the night. Nobody wanted him. And Rabbi Akiva said the following words, Kol Dovid Rachmana, everything the merciful one Hashem does, L'tav Ovid, it's all good. It's all good. Like it says in the end, Kol ma she'oisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, Hakol L'Tova, it's all for the good. Rabbi Akiva looked at everything in his life, and he saw that no matter what is going on, the flat tire, the lost job, the tension in the house, the aches and the pains, the not good news from the doctor, Rahman al-Islan, the struggles with having children, the struggles with raising children, everything in between. Says the Rabbi Akiva, if you learn to say this magical formula, and you have such an emunah, such a faith in Hashem like this, nothing will ever get you down. And you will persevere, and you will raise up, and you will be strong in any situation in life. Kol, Dovid, Rahman, in any situation, the good and the bad and the ugly, L'tav of it, it's all for the best. It's all for the good. You just have to know how to look at it. You have to know how to use the situation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given you, and you have to elevate yourself through that. Now Rabbi Akiva had another Rebbe. His name was Nachum Ish Gamzu. That was his Rebbe. Everybody knows why he was called Nachum Ish Gamzu, because on everything that happened to Nachum, he would say, Gamzu L'Tova. This is also for the good. And so the Mefarshim asked the following question. Why did Rabbi Akiva change the statement of his Rebbe? It's a pretty good statement. Gam zu l'toiva. This is also for the good. Rabbi Akiva came along and he said, I'll be like my Rebbe, but not exactly. Called the Ovid Rahman and l'tav Ovid. Everything that Hashem does, it's good. Why couldn't he just say like his Rebbe? And the Anaf Yosef, one of the Mefarshim over here, says the following idea. Which is a greater statement? Everything that Hashem does is for the good? Or Gamzu, or this is also good? Which one is the stronger statement of Emunah? And he explains the following. When Rabbi Akiva said that Kol Dovid Rahman, everything that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is good, he was saying, right now, Hashem, I don't see how it's good. To me, it looks really, really bad. But I trust in you. I believe in you. I know that you're the source of all good. So even though that right now things don't look good in my eyes, I'm guaranteed that eventually I'm going to be able to see the good. Whether I'm privileged in this world, or whether it's privileged in the next world. Whether it's today, or sometimes it takes 5-10 years down the road for a person to realize that struggle they were going through, best thing that could ever happen to them. But his Rebbe, Nachum Ish Gamzu, was on a higher level of Emunah even. And he was able, Zu always means he could point. And he could point to whatever was going on in his life, even if it looked like the world was falling apart, and he could say, Gamzu L'Toiva. This right now is for the good. Undoubtedly, this is good. And Rabbi Akiva is teaching us for all the generations. You might not be a Nachum Ish Gamzu. You might not be able to see how everything that's going on, it's good, it's so good. I just lost my job. It's so amazing. Thank you, Hashem. Really, that's incredible. Thank you. I just got sideswiped in my brand new Lamborghini. Wow, Baruch Hashem. Thank you, Hashem. I really appreciate it. It's unbelievable. You know when you get that call from the principal? Oh, everyone's laughing. You know about that. I'm not the only one that gets those. Okay. Baruch Hashem, my son was sent to the principal again this week already. Gamzu L'Toiva. But I don't know. In this world, I just don't know. Says Rabbi Akiva, La'olim yargal atzmai loymar. A person should get themselves ready to sing all of the time. You should say it 1,000 times a day. Kol Dovid Rahmana L'tav Ovid. Everything that Hashem does, it's good, no question. He doesn't do bad. Hashem is all good. Hashem is all chesed. He's all love. He loves every single one of us. Does someone who loves you hurt you? Even when your parents would punish you and they would discipline you, does that mean they don't love you? No, that means they love you. They want you to be better. So if you're acting out of line, if you're acting in a way that is not the way that we act in our family, if you're doing things that are dangerous and you're doing things that are irrational, you're doing things that are immoral, so your parents would come and discipline you and send you to your room. I don't know what they do in Iran. They get out the belt or the cane, whatever they do. That's only because they love you. Because they want to make sure that you become the best person that you could be. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us the struggles of life, when He sends us the difficulties in our life, personally, as a family, community-wise, when He sends those things, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, it's all for the good. You might not see it right now, but when you begin squeezing out of yourself all the power that's in there, when you connect with your beautiful neshama that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given you, and you're strong with conviction and commitment, then kol the Ovid Rachmana, everything that Hashem does, l'tav Ovid, it's all good. And this is Rabbi Akiva. The Chidah writes, do you know how long it took Rabbi Akiva to get up from his total destruction of his yeshiva? How many days, how many weeks, how many months did it take for Rabbi Akiva to pull himself back together and say, even though that my whole life was destroyed, and clearly HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not happy with my students, and he didn't like my yeshiva, that's why it doesn't exist anymore. But Hashem wants the Torah to continue and move on and go forward in life. When did Rabbi Akiva get up from all of that? Says the Chidah, you know what day? Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, the day that all the deaths stopped. And there's nobody alive anymore in his Beit Midrash, in his yeshiva, there's nothing there. And he should have crawled in the bed and drowned himself in his misery. On that day itself, Rabbi Akiva said, a Jew never ever stops. A Jew never ever gives up. A Jew never loses their faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No matter what needs to be done, he's always going to go and go and go and move forward in life. And so the great Rabbi Akiva, he picked himself up on Lag BaOmer, and he went and he found 5 new students, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai amongst them, and he taught them all of the Torah. Says the Chidah, you know what the Simcha of Lag BaOmer is? It's true that all the students died and there was nobody left. The Simcha is Rabbi Akiva's Emunah. The Simcha is that a Jew who ends up going through the worst things in this world still keeps marching forward and moving forward in his life, and he doesn't give up his hope and his dreams for 1 single minute. And tomorrow night, for those that will be by any bonfire, for those that will be dancing around, for those that will be singing the songs of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, don't forget what the real Simcha is. It's not whatever food and drinks they are serving. It's not how amazing the music might be. That's nice, that just enhances the Simcha, but the real Simcha is, we are the offspring of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva taught us that if you have Emunah in the power of the Torah, and you have Emunah in the power of yourself, and you have Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you believe in Hashem, then nothing in your life ever is impossible. You can always pick yourself back up from the ashes of disappointment, of frustration, of destruction, and you can rebuild yourself. You could rebuild a family. You could rebuild the world if you want to. I want to leave you off with one last story. There was a great tzaddik who passed away already almost 100 years ago. His name was the Horowitz. And the Horowitz, towards the end of his life, was very sick and very weak. And he was no longer leaving his home. He was no longer going to the yeshiva. He was no longer really teaching. And they were trying to preserve his strength as much as was possible. They wanted the Chavetz Chaim to remain in the world as long as was possible, because when you have a tzaddik like that in the world, the whole world benefits. It's a better place. It was already after World War I, and the sparks of World War II were in the air already, and they wanted the protection of the Chavetz Chaim, so they did everything they possibly could to protect his health. And so he stayed in his small, little, tiny house. And all day long he would be there either sleeping, or learning a little bit, or praying a little bit. And they didn't really let people in to bother him. They wanted to make sure that he stayed calm, relaxed, healthy, without any pressures from anybody else. And every day there were two boys from the yeshiva, that were in charge of guarding the Chavetz Chaim with their lives. They were to stand by the door. If anybody would knock, they would say, sorry, the Chavetz Chaim is not seeing anybody right now, he's resting. And almost nobody could ever get into that room unless it was a family member, it was somebody that was prominent, but nobody really got in there. One day the two boys that are watching the Chavetz Chaim, hear a knock at the door. And they open the door and they see a husband and a wife, and the wife is holding some kind of a package in her arms. And she's quite hysterical. She says, I must see the Chavetz Chaim now. I need to speak to the Chavetz Chaim. They said, I'm sorry, miss. The Chavetz Chaim is not seeing anybody right now. He's very weak, he's very frail. No, we must see him immediately. And the husband and wife start pushing their way through the door, and they push the boys out of the way. And the next thing you know, they're standing in front of the Holy Chavetz Chaim. He was sitting and learning at that moment, and he heard all the commotion, and he looks up. And as he looks up, he sees this young woman holding a package. And she takes the package and she throws it on the table in front of the Chavetz Chaim, and she says, you take this, I can't take him anymore, I don't want him. And the package opens up, and it's a little baby.
Oh my God.
And she says to the Chavetz Chaim, he's deaf and he's blind, we don't want him, you take him. And then the woman lets out a shriek, and she's crying and crying and crying. The Bachrim are standing there, they don't know what's going to happen. And the Chavetz Chaim looks gently at this woman and her husband, and then he closes his eyes. And it looks like he's falling asleep. For 10 minutes, the eyes of the Chavetz Chaim are closed. The boys start getting nervous. Maybe he just passed out from the shock. And they go over, they know they can hear him breathing. And after 10 minutes, he opens his eyes and he says the following. When I was a young boy learning in Cheder, learning in school, we had a Rabbi whose name was Rav Shlomo. And Rabbi Shlomo was, wow, such a tzaddik, he said. You can't imagine, his face shined like a light. He was so good with all the boys and all the students. He taught us Torah like nobody else in the world. The way that he motivated us, the way that he spoke to us, the way that he loved us, the way that he encouraged us. You should have seen this man, the way that he davened, the way that he prayed. He was tzaddik, yesod olam. He was amazing, amazing. And one day, Rabbi Shlomo, he passed away. And he was such a tzaddik, he began going up and up and up and up, all the different levels of Gan Eden, until he was standing by the gates of Gan Eden itself, ready to go in. And just as they were about to open the gates for Rav Shlomo, suddenly these dark, black malachim angels came flying in. And they started bringing about the few averot, the few sins that Rabbi Shlomo did in his life. And they said, you're going to let this man into Gan Eden? After he did this sin, and he did that sin, and he did that sin, he doesn't belong there. And Rav Shlomo began to cry. He's so close. He's about to go into the heavenly realm. And they won't let him in right now. And the Bezdin, the high court, began to have a tumult. And they decided, Rabbi Shlomo, we will send you back down to this world so you can correct the mistakes that you made before. And Rav Shlomo began to argue with the Bet Din above. And he said, if I made mistakes this time around, how do you know that I won't make mistakes the next time around and I'll be stuck outside the gates? I'll never get in there. I don't agree. You cannot send me back down if I'm going to make mistakes again. And so they said, ooh, he has a good taina, he has a good claim against us. Rabbi Shlomo, don't worry. We're going to send you back down to this world in a way that it will be impossible for you to ever sin again. And when the Chavetz Chaim finished the story, he looked to the two Bachrim and he asked them to pick him up. And they picked him up and he walked over to the baby that was lying there on the table and he said, Baruch haba Rav Shlomo! Welcome back to the world! The way that they sent you down here for! And the mother begins crying her eyes out. And she picks up the baby and she says, I'll never let go of you. I'll do everything that I can. I'll raise you the best that I can. You precious neshama that you are. And that's the world that we live in. We don't understand why things happen the way that they do. We don't know what's going on in our life from one minute to the next. Things that we thought were working out so well, boom, they don't work out. Jobs that we thought were going to make us millions and millions and millions of dollars, they only put us into millions of dollars of debt. Marriages stressful, children stressful, health stressful, everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly what He is doing. And when you learn how to say the words, Kol, the Dovid, Rachmana, Letav Dovid, everything that Hashem does, it's all good. Trust me, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to make your life miserable. I'm here to give you goodness because everything that I do is good. Then you will know the secret of Rabbi Akiva. And tomorrow night, Bezrat Hashem, when Lag BaOmer will come in, and everyone's getting so excited, all the bonfires, all the music, all the dancing, you'll sit back and you'll know why you're really happy. Because you have the Emunah of Torah, you have the Emunah in yourself. Don't stop believing in yourself. And you have the Emunah, the belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if a person has those levels of Emunah, nothing at all in their life or in this world can ever, chas v'chalila, stand in their way. I'm sure that there is everybody in this room needs and wants something. I'm sure of that. Some of you want better health. Some of you want better parnasah. Some of you want better shalom bayit. Some of you would like to have children. Some of you would like to raise children. Some of you would like the whatever fights you had with Mama June and Baba June and this one and that one. You'd like them to disappear. I'm sure of that. Whatever you need in your life, if you have the Emunah to say, Kol the Dovid Rachmana Letav Dovid, you will see it's going to work out for the best. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu help us to be strong in our Emunah. Emunah brings Simcha. That's the Simcha of Lag BaOmer. The Emunah of Rabbi Akiva is our Emunah that we learn from, and that brings us to the greatest Simcha. May we be Zoiche B'ezrat Hashem, that just as Rabbi Akiva continued going on in his life, and he never gave up for a moment, Don't ever give up on anything in your life, on any person in your life, because with your emunah, you'll never know what you can accomplish, because everything is truly for the good. Bezrat Hashem.